Whew. Can you believe it, folks? I have just made 30 videos in 2 months. I am, I am just tired, just worn out. I mean, I just realized here recently, I've made 500 episodes, and I just never stopped and thought about it. I have made 500 episodes, and now I'm going on 530. That is crazy. And I feel like I need just a moment just to regain my strength. So I'm gonna just make a video, but I'm just gonna be just a brief encounter. Maybe you can excuse just a little bit here recently, especially how just tired I've been. I've been worn out from having, just working in a job and doing this. It's not easy. I never really talk about it, but it isn't always easy to do this. I'm glad to be doing it, but it isn't always easy. So tonight is just going to be something that happened to me at the Fireside Tales. I don't know if you'll like it or not, but I thought I'd go ahead and just tell it to you anyways. So it actually started out commonplace enough. I was working in my library one night, and as I was writing down some notes, I couldn't help but feel that something was off. Something was amiss, and I looked around for a moment, but it was an empty library. And finally, I decided, well, it was getting pretty close to closing time, and no one was there, so I might as well just shut the place down. I turned off the lights, said goodbye to Devon, and as I was walking out, as I was locking up, I looked over and I noticed a hallway that I'd never seen before. Maybe it was just because of the way it was positioned. It was kind of off, and just kind of off where you couldn't really see it. So I thought to myself, well, it's late at night and I'm feeling mischievous. I might as well take a look. So I started walking down it, and as I was walking down, it seemed to go on, and I felt like I was wandering through a dream. And I don't know how long it took to get there, but finally I arrived at a staircase. And I went up and came to this wooden door. And at the bottom of this wooden door, there was some light, and I could hear footsteps, so I knew that something was in there. And I put my ear to it, and I tried to open the door, but it was locked. Um, so I went back. But every night since then, I found myself going back there, going back to that wooden door, and wondering what it was about it that enchanted me so much. Finally, I decided I'd just go ahead and ask. I mustered up the courage, and I went up to Father Martin and asked him about it. And he just smiled one of his warm smiles at me and said if I wanted to go there, I was certainly allowed, and he pulled out a key and he handed it to me. And I was surprised. I was expecting him to say, like, no, you're not allowed to go into that room. That's meant for just, like, special people. But I was very glad about it, and I started, after that day was over, my shift, of course, I went down the hallway, and as I was walking down, I came back to the stairs, and I came to the door, and I put the key in, and I opened it into this room that I wasn't really expecting. It was just this normal, commonplace room, but it was very nice. And to be fair, there was quite a lot of interesting things to see in there. There was this fish tank, and there was this shelf of books, and all these animals, these lion heads and tiger heads, and the beautiful red carpet, a chandelier. And as I walked forward, I turned and I noticed a man sitting in an armchair. And the man had this longest gray hair, and he looked ancient, almost like he was like a mummy or something. And he had a pipe in his hand, and he was just looking out into space. And I noticed that he didn't seem to be looking at me, just looking out as if he was looking into something else. And I walked up to him, and I realized that his eyes were misty, and it came to me that he was blind. And I said to him, "Excuse me, sir, I didn't mean to intrude, but Father Martin said that I could come by and that you would be waiting for me." He said, "Ah, yes, take a seat, Mr. Seth Lewis." And I sat down, and I said, "I suppose Father Martin told you about me." "No, no, I've made it a custom to be familiar with everyone here at the Fireside Tales. You've came here for a reason, I do believe, even though you might not know yourself. For you see, people come here when they're wondering what is about to happen next. And I am that what is about to happen next." He put the pipe in his mouth, and I kind of expected what he was going to say before he said it. "I am the prophet of the Fireside Tales." And I felt a rush in me, and I said, I think I think I've heard of a few of them. I am just Fawn, he said. Yes, I know of the few others out there, and I'm not going to repeat their names for their privacy. But anyways, he said, now, what would you want to ask me? Well, I had to admit that I was thinking a lot about our country here recently and the things that were going on, so I asked him what was going to happen to us, and he said, well, it's not so much what's going to happen to the people. That's not what matters. What matters is what's happening with the universe. Few people ever look at that side of the coin, but it's the most important part of the coin. Strange, isn't it, that the insignificant things in our lives, the things that happen to us, seem so important, when really there are greater battles going on out there. And, then he said, the man in black is beginning to become too real. It's beginning to hurt him. He's feeling the pains. And if he becomes too real, everything is going to collapse. I don't mean to say that the universe is going to end, or that humanity is going to end. It's just that change will start to happen. It'll happen slowly, but it will begin to happen. The man in black's hope, he continued, is that he could create human beings to rise to a level of technological advancement, that they reach a oneness with him. But I don't think that is going to happen. He doesn't take into account that there's something rubbing at his heels almost, constantly coming at him. Oh, he'll try to get away from it, but it's chasing him, and it will chase him forever, till the ends of eternity. I then asked him about myself. I couldn't help but ask him, because I knew I was there, and I thought I might as well. And he said, Seth Lewis, the thing that is important that is happening right now with you is that there is a great spirit following you, and you will find that it will start to change your life in peculiar ways. I will tell you one more thing, since I am aware that you are looking at the more commonplace side of life, and say that you will experience water here soon. I didn't understand what he meant, and I'm pretty sure that none of you do either, but I thanked him. I turned and went and asked him if I could come back there, and he said that I could, and that he would answer any questions that I had, but he warned me that he wasn't going to be able to say everything, but that he was glad that I had came. Well, anyways, I left, and actually I don't go there very often. Sometimes I will. Maybe I shouldn't. Sometimes I feel like I'm trespassing into some terrain that I should never be. But I won't deny that I'll never forget that old man just thought in his eyes, those eyes of his that seemed to be staring off into some sort of abyss. I'd like to introduce you all, but maybe in your own way you have met him from time to time. That's the way with the Fireside Tales. You know, we always think of it in just the way people would think of it, but sometimes maybe we should think of it in the way people out there would. Well, what do I know? I'm just a librarian. As always, sweet dreams, and good night.